Welcome to Legal Vices. Strap in. This is going to be an interesting one. Tonight, today, whatever time it happens to be when you're watching this, we're going to be looking at the Amber Heard testimony for the 2 days that she was on the stand before this long break that's underway now. To kick this off, if you don't have something to drink, you better get something and settle down because this is a wild one. Tonight, I'm going to be getting into the Michter's bourbon. This is some fantastic bourbon, and I'm going to need a lot of it to get through this. Oh, the beautiful sounds of a newly opened bottle. All right, assertion. My conclusions are that Amber Heard is completely insane. She's dangerous. She's a menace. Her testimony is completely untrustworthy and unbelievable. Now, we're going to go back and find out why I think this way. Full disclosure, at the beginning of this trial, I believed her. Well, coming into it, I just assumed Johnny Depp had problems with drugs in the past. He's known to have severe alcoholic problems. He's had legal problems in the past. There's been rumors of other situations in the past. But it wasn't a long stretch for me to assume, okay, during this Me Too thing, someone stood up, someone finally is calling him out. And he's got what's coming to him. That was my initial thought. Then as we got closer to the trial over the past couple of years, I noticed a few things that we'll get into. But once Amber Heard took the testimony, took the stand to give her testimony, the defense's case in chief, the star witness, Amber Heard, she ruined it for herself. Absolutely destroyed her credibility, in my view, to the point where I completely distrust anything she's alleged with regard to Johnny Depp. My previous video, I laid out a few possible reasons, which include she's just an angry woman who lost her hopes, lost her dreams, lost her money wagon, lost her vehicle into other movies, and turned to this for revenge, for the sole purpose of hurting his career, destroying his life, and ruining everything for him. But the reasons why I completely distrust her now, we're going to get into in this case, in this video today. What I've done is I've gone through the testimony of the 2 days she's been on the stand. And I've taken every reference to her being hit, to the DV that she's alleging was perpetrated on her. I've done my best to make sure that none of these clips are referring to the same event. So I've done my best to ensure that each one of these clips is an independent example of claimed abuse. We can't say the A word, of aggression. And what I planned to do was lay out the problems I had with her testimony at the beginning and then go into the video. But when I finished making these clips of only a day and a half on the stand, this video is so long that there's no way I could do it. Pour yourself a drink, strap in, and we'll talk about this as we go through. But again, these are specific individual allegations of DV perpetrated against her that she alleges were done by Johnny Depp. Let's just get into it, and we'll talk about it as things go along.
It was that simple. I just laughed because I thought he was joking. And slapped me across the face. And he slapped me again. And he slaps me one more time. Hard. It would escalate to the point where he would push me or shove me down, and then I'd get back up. And this happened several times. That's why it's not more specific, I suppose.
Okay, let's talk about her specific allegations. This is one of the problems. She talks to that first 3 clips was the first time that he allegedly did this to her. She said he slapped him, then slapped her again, then slapped her a third time and knocked her off her feet. And at that point, she talks about how she remembers how dirty the carpet was, and she didn't didn't know how they let the carpet get this dirty. That's really weird, because normally when people are on the stand, or normally when people are in these DV situations, the propensity is to not remember anything, not remember a great deal about the extraneous details, not remember a lot of the insignificant things. The tendency is to hyper focus on the aggression that's happening to them at that point. Is it sort of like a time dilation thing, how your life passes in front of you in a second? How when you get in a car accident, it's weird how you can process so completely the details of the accident that took place in a fraction of a second or a second or so. But this, so ordinarily the victims will focus on the specific details. The actual act is hyper clear to them, but they don't know what was going on. They don't know what time it was. Nobody checks the clock to see what time they got decked in the face. They don't know what was over here, what was over there. It's focused on trying to save their life. They're hyper focused on the aggression that is being perpetrated on them. But she remembers these weird details, and she does it a lot as she goes through this. She talks about the carpet being dirty here. And another time we'll talk about, she just remembers, I don't remember much about it. I just remember I stared at the blue light. I was just looking at the light. I didn't know what to do. And just things like this going through the whole thing. She focuses on these weird things, the colors of things, but not on the abuse itself. So what we see here is she's talking about focusing on the color of the carpet. But here in this part of the clip, in another incident, she says she can't remember the specifics of the aggression. That's weird. So anyway, let's move on. I think we're on about the fifth or the sixth alleged incident at this point.
Eventually, he just hit me. Remember, he hit me in the face when I denied having an affair with my ex-wife. Slapping, backhanding. He would grab me by the hair, or he'd grab me by the arm, pull me into him, scream at me that way. He'd smash things around me. Then he would smash things very close to me. And then he would just hit me. And it started with slapping, and it got to be like repetitive slaps where he'd hold me in a position and slap me multiple times in a row. And we're in the kitchen living room area, and he backhands me. And
okay, again, another thing. So far we've already heard 10 or so separate episodes of abuse, but here she's talking about being backhanded by Johnny Depp. Look at his hands. He's got these massive rings on each hand. If you were backhanded by someone wearing that much jewelry, there would be marks. I don't care how softly you're hit. And how do you get softly backhanded across the face by a bunch of metal and jewels and sharp, pokey edges? I have trouble with that. There's no evidence to support her claims.
It was, he wears a lot of rings.
Let's see.
I remember kind of just feeling like my lip went into my teeth, and it got a little blood on the wall.
All right, stop there again. So that episode, as I mentioned, that was the episode where she mentioned the rings. Backhands her across the face, enough to spray blood on the wall. Rip up her lip and spray blood on the wall. Why is there no evidence of this? If you've paid attention to the trial, you'll know she takes pictures of everything. She takes these pictures of him sleeping. Her evidence is littered with pictures of Johnny Depp sleeping, allegedly passed out due to drugs or alcohol. Pictures of him sleeping, pictures of throwing up, multiple pictures of different mirrors, pictures of tables, pictures of the floor, but there are no pictures of her injuries that are credible. I think there's one that I mentioned here in this clip. There's other ones where it shows hair laying on the ground, which she says was a clump of hair ripped out of her head. There's another one with a bruise on her arm, which is the one we'll show. But that bruise is old and faded, and there's no telling when it happened or how it happened. In contrast, Johnny Depp has a line of witnesses to testify as to what happened. He's got pictures, he's got recordings, he's got things to support his assertions and allegations. She's got nothing. She's got these fantasies that what I conclude are fantasies because of the lack of supporting evidence. A lot of these happen in the presence of other witnesses. Why aren't those witnesses testifying? They're happening in front of her friends. Why are her friends not here testifying? And with someone who's taking pictures of all these other things, why did she not take any pictures of any of this as evidence? It makes no sense whatsoever. It totally undermines her credibility that she is a public figure. She's a public figure. She's in the spotlight. She does the red carpets. She's in front of paparazzi all day. She's with Johnny Depp, and nobody's got pictures. No paparazzi's got pictures of her with these injuries. We'll talk a little bit more about that. That's kind of the main thing we're going to keep coming back to, is there is no evidence to support these theories and assertions that she's making. And there are so many of them. This clip, as I said, I cut together all of these different scenarios that she's alleged, and I missed a couple because I nodded off a couple times and I didn't want to go back and check them, but I think this is most of them. And this video is almost 25 minutes long, just one alleged incident after the other, like we've seen so far. Let's continue.
I had thrown a
bruise.
Johnny slapped me.
Look at that bruise. That is not a fresh bruise. That is an old bruise. I got one on my arm just the other day. I probably can't see it. It's like it was right here, but it was going when it looked like this about 3 days after I got it, 4 days after I got it. It wasn't taken at the moment. And there's no one to back up or testify how that bruise happened. It's only her word that this happened when he grabbed her arm. Where's the corroborating witnesses?
I walked away from him, and that made it worse. I actually managed to get away before he got me. He grabbed me by the arm, and he kind of just held me on the floor, screaming at me.
There's a lot of screaming too that nobody seems to
I don't know how many times he hit me in the face, but
hit her in the face. No marks, no pictures, no witnesses.
Johnny grabbed her wrist.
Okay, now this is something I included. I included a couple of these in here. This is another incident where he assaulted allegedly someone else, where he committed violence on someone else. A stewardess on an airplane. No, that's later. This was at some little druggy camp thing they went to. They found some woman somewhere, and they all went off to some trailer park to do mushrooms. But she and this other girl rested her head on Amber Heard's shoulder, and allegedly Depp went crazy because he thought Amber Heard was trying to pick up this other girl. And so he assaulted this other girl. Where is this other girl to testify? Where is this woman? Where is she to corroborate this alleged piece of abuse? I said the A word again.
Before my apartment, Johnny grabbed her wrist.
He grabbed this other woman who he did not press charge.
Twisted it and pulled her into him and said, "Do you know how many pounds of pressure it takes to break a human wrist?" He ripped my dress, the strap top part of my dress. I had just dyed this thing myself pink, and it's just one of those things. I was like,
this is a serious testimony here.
Just finished that dress, and he's like grabbing my breasts. He's touching my thighs. He rips my underwear off, and then he proceeds to do a cavity search. He grabbed her by the wrist.
Now, as I as I said, I was skeptical at the beginning of the trial. I was a little bit angry as she began her testimony and just started eliciting this one after another scenarios, incidences of DV. And this was about the time I got pissed. The lack of credibility in her testimony should make any woman who's suffered domestic situations furious. I mean, it's disrespectful for her to be saying these things. I mean, if Johnny Depp did 10%, 5% of the things that she alleges he did, he should be buried under the jail as a horrible, horrible person. But conversely, if she's not telling the truth, which I think is the case, she needs to suffer the consequences. This is insane to be saying that she was cavity searched over something. I believe it was looking for some drugs that she alleges he thought she was hiding somewhere. So we've got this digital penetration thing that she's alleging, which, if that's not true, she needs to burn in hell for this. And again, there is no evidence to corroborate this.
And slammed it down on the table.
Okay, this is the stewardess one where he grabbed the stewardess's arm on an air. Grab a stewardess on an airplane and see what happens. I mean, either it didn't happen or he paid a shit ton of money to her to hush this up. But in any event, if you want to call her as a witness, you can subpoena the manifest. You can get the records of who was on what flight on what date. Stewardesses aren't just genies in a bottle that appear out of nowhere. I've dated a few stewardesses, and I know what their logs they have to keep every time they step foot on an airplane. So anyway, she's talking about this alleged aggressive incident that happened to a stewardess on an airplane who, again, Amber alleges that Johnny thought they were flirting with each other.
At one point, Johnny just shoves me, shoves me hard. And I fall back onto this glass table. At some point, Johnny whacks me in the face.
She falls onto a glass table. Well, thank God the glass table didn't break, because we all know how sturdy glass tables are. I've broken a glass table, which is why you will never, ever, ever find a glass table in my house ever, ever again. Extremely fragile things, unless we're talking bulletproof glass. Anyway, she somehow survived this glass table incident without the table breaking. And then he just belts her.
And he slams me up against the side wall of the bedroom of the we were in the bedroom this whole time, but up against the wall of the cabin, and slams me up by my neck and holds me there for a second and tells me that he could fucking kill me.
Okay, now we've moved on to the
Johnny.
Now we've moved on to the second day of testimony. Again, to me, I mean, it just gets crazier as time goes on. I mean, she's playing to the jury, which she should. I mean, the way she's dressed dressed sort of nunnish. To me, she looks like Handmaid's Tale. I mean, the colors, of course, it was red in Handmaid's Tale, but the same deal. Like, she's got the black and white contrasting thing. She's got the hairdo. And these expressions she pulls remind me so much of Elizabeth Moss's facial expressions in Handmaid's Tale that it's eerie to me. I won't say she's copying Elizabeth Moss's expressions, but they're close enough that it really, really, really reminds me of her. Okay, they're moving on to the second day, where it just gets more and more insane. And again, the second day, no corroborating evidence. Where are these people? Where are these witnesses that viewed this? Where are the pictures? Like I said, she takes pictures of everything, just not the injuries.
Shoves me and kind of grabs me by the collarbone area, like not really my neck, but top of my neck.
And I don't even know what that means.
Top of my, above my collarbone, below my neck.
Above your collarbone, but below your neck.
I think at that point when we were still in the living room, I shoved him back, but I don't really recall too many specifics. Kind of like
and she says this a lot.
On the sofa, and I get up and
she says that a lot. I don't recall any of the specifics, or I don't recall a lot of the specifics. Again, as we talked about at the beginning, that is extremely rare for victims of DV. They usually very clearly remember what's happening when the actions are ongoing because they're hyper-focused on not getting the shit kicked out of them. That just destroys her credibility to me. The fact that she doesn't remember the specifics, she just remembers vaguely, so you can't question her on the details of the incident. And we'll talk about other things later. Let's move on.
I'm trying to get him off of me, and it's just stronger than me. I don't know how else to describe it. And at some point, he just whacks me in the face.
Boom, again.
And I had not, at the time, been, I think that was the first time I was like, is this a broken nose? At the time, I was unsure what that feeling was, but I suspected I had a broken nose.
Okay. A broken nose. This is her first allegation of a broken nose, or something close to a broken nose. If you've had a broken nose or close to a broken nose, you're going to have major bruising under here, major bruising on the side. Your nose is going to be swollen like a damn baseball. And it hurts like a mother effer. How could nobody notice that she had suffered a broken nose or a nearly broken nose? And where are the pictures again? Again, there's no evidence.
And other than that, I was relatively unscathed.
Unscathed except for the broken nose.
I remember my nose being swollen, discolored, red.
Her nose was swollen, discolored, and red. Where are the pictures from her? Where are the pictures from her family? Where are the pictures from the paparazzi? Where are the pictures showing her nose is swollen and bruised and red? There are none. That is ridiculous and incredible. If you had suffered this, I didn't even count how many alleged incidents had occurred up to this point. But if you've suffered that many, you're not going to stay in the relationship unless you're absolutely damaged goods. Or two, you're going to be documenting the shit out of this for lawyers. You're going to be talking to your friends and your family who are going to be telling you, take pictures, who are going to be coming after him. Where are those witnesses? God, my blood pressure is up. I need to double dose on the blood pressure pills today.
And I took a picture of my face.
Where's the picture?
He sits down in front of me.
He took the picture she took the picture and it's not submitted in evidence. Bullshit. Why is that picture not submitted into evidence? If there is no picture, it did not happen. She says she took the picture and it's not there. And my God, I need another drink at this point. Inner peace. Inner peace. Inner peace. Moving on.
At one point, and because I'm not answering him, I was looking out of the window and he slaps my face. And as I get up, he kind of kicks the swivel chair into my hip.
This was on an airplane.
My back is turned to him. And
he's assaulting her on a private plane. Oop, there's the A word again.
In my back.
Then he kicks her in the back in front of witnesses.
Kicked me in the back. I said something to him, and he got so angry at me, he slapped me across the face. But he did it
like while crying. It was the weirdest thing, but I
weird.
said something snotty to him that provoked him. It provoked him, and when I walked into the hallway, he grabbed me by the arm and slammed me up against the hallway wall, and he had me by the hair, and I felt like he was just wailing on me, but in a really sloppy way, like hitting the back of my head. And
so he's wailing on her. And Johnny Depp's not a small man, but he is wailing on her. And that's how I perceive wailing. Again, no evidence, no support. And going a couple steps back where she said, oh, yeah, I made some snotty remarks. Granted, a snotty remark does not deserve a smack in the head, which I am saying did not happen. But again, Bill Burr, in his bit about there's no reason to hit a woman, makes a great point that can we just all agree? And even if this, which I'm saying, not every ass kicking just falls out of the sky, as he said. Even hockey gives 2 minutes for instigating. You need to examine why this shit happens. But I'm saying she devalues the actual incidents that happen in the lives of ordinary people. She wants the fame. She wants to be the poster child for this situation, as she said. She's doing this for attention. She's doing this to damage him and doing this to hurt him. She wants to be the face of this DV situation. So she's making this shit up. She says she took pictures. She didn't submit them into evidence, and she needs to pay the consequences for that. $50 million. I hope Depp gets it.
kind of wrestled me down to the floor.
Here's these Kate Moss
Please
expressions.
tell the jury about your wedding.
Okay, this is an important thing to note too. Everything we've heard up to this point, every incident of DV that we've heard up to this point happened before they were married. She's alleging that all of this happened and she still married him. Again, women do crazy things. DV survivors, men or women, do crazy, low self-esteem things. But good Lord, the stuff that she has said happened from the beginning of this video clip that I put together to this point was before marriage. And that was a short time. I believe it was like 2 years. All of this happened. And now she's talking about what happens at the wedding.
But when he shoved me, I went flying across these parakeet floors. I mean, just skidding across these floors. And I remember thinking it just looked so easy for him to throw me around like that, you know. I just slid, screeching my skin against this like beautiful wooden floor. He shoves me up against the fridge. He has me by the throat, and he just was holding me there by my throat. And I wondered if it was the drugs. I wondered if it was him. It hadn't, in my recollection, hadn't been that long. He has me up against the throat. He's kind of bashing me against the wall next to the fridge. But again, he has me up against the wall, and I remember this time he slams me up against the wall hard. I mean, I hit my head hard.
She should have had so many concussions
And
up to
this is a wall next to the, I say kitchenette, but it's more of a bar. I remember there were these cooling fridges, and I remember kind of being slammed up against those. I remember pushing him off of me. He had me up against the wall next to the cooling fridges, and I remember slamming my head up against the thing. He had me by the neck, and he kind of just flings me, for lack of a better way to describe it, throws me across the room. I land on a games table. It's like a ping pong table. And I don't know if I was holding on to him or if he pursued me separate, but he...
Okay, she talks about how this ping pong table was broken because of this incident that she's just going into. She took pictures of the broken ping pong table. There's pictures of the broken ping pong table, but not pictures of her broken face, her bashed in head, her choked neck, the burns where she was slit across the floor. There's no pictures submitted of her and what she looked like. I can take a picture of a broken ping pong table and say that somebody slammed me into it and did this damage. That doesn't mean it happened. If she's taking pictures of this, why is she not taking pictures of herself? After he's wailing on her and choking her and bashing her head into the refrigerator or what, the cooling fridge or whatever the hell she calls it, slamming her onto the table, no marks anywhere on her body to take pictures of.
Gets on top of me on the games table and is just whacking me in the face.
Where are the pictures of the...
Like repetitive. We struggle on the games table. I don't know.
It is a bit serious.
I don't know if he backhanded me or hit me normally. I don't really recall, but I remember it sent me down to the ground.
Were you hit with an open fist, or were you hurt with a damn lot of rings, as you can see over there? I mean, there's some rings on those hands, and there always is. Anyway, she should know if she was front slapped or backhanded. But anyway, on with this particularly disturbing bit of testimony.
I remember by the time I pick myself off the floor, I stand up. Him having me by the nightgown. I remember him flailing me, throwing me around. I'm flailing because I remember my feet slipping on the tile as he was slamming me from the wall to the countertops. At one point, he has me up against the wall and he's punching the wall. He had my, nightgown and it kind of ripped it off my chest. I remember at one point he's teasing me, taunting me that he has my breast in his hand. My nightgown came completely off. It was ripped off of me. So I was naked and I'm slipping around on this tile and trying to get my footing. And I remember slipping on this tile. Glass was underneath me, and I remember just trying to get my footing. I felt really destabilized and felt really vulnerable.
Okay, again, this is like particularly horrific testimony. But it's equally unbelievable because prior to this, she's discussing how he's been launching bottles at her. This was the incident where I guess you hurt his finger. I believe if that was this. This is where he said his finger erupted like Mount Vesuvius and lopped off a bit of the end when she lobbed a handle of vodka at him and smashed his finger on the bar. But anyway, she's saying that he was just launching bottles and cans at her, smashing on the head, smashing through windows, just being destroyed, and glasses littered everywhere. And she is talking about how she's walking across the glass. She's being dragged across the glass. She can feel the glass under her feet. Where's the pictures? I've broken a few of these in my life. And there's always these little tiny slivers of glass you never get up. You can vacuum and sweep all you want, but there's still I found one this morning vacuuming my floor over here. And I haven't broke a glass in probably 3 months. But you miss these little pieces, and then you'll get one damn in the bottom of your damn foot, and it hurts like a mofo. But now she's walking around in glass like Bruce Willis in Die Hard. And there's no cuts on the feet. She says there's cuts on the feet later. We'll get to that. But No pictures of her feet being sliced to ribbons by walking across multiple broken bottles, being dragged across it by her feet. This is ridiculous. She takes pictures of everything. Why not her feet cut to damn ribbons by the glass on the floor? There's no way I can believe that any of this bullshit happened, because this is the shit that happens in movies. This happens in movies. If it happens in real life, there's huge quantities of blood, there's pictures, there's police involved. This is insane. And like this kind of testimony, I'm not saying this does not happen to women. I'm saying I can't believe that it happened to her. And because of that, because I'm convinced she is lying about this, that's a disgrace to other women who legitimately go through this shit and have no way out of it.
I'm naked. He's flinging me around, and at some point, I'm up against the wall, and he's screaming at me. And my head was bashing against the back of the bar, and I couldn't breathe. And I remember trying to get up, and I was slipping on the glass. My feet were slipping, my arms were slipping on the countertops. And I remember just trying to get up so I could breathe, so I could tell him that he was really hurting me. I didn't think he knew what he was doing. I don't know how.
Oh, and this crying with no tears. She tries so hard to make those tears come, but they don't.
I'm sorry.
And while she's in her moment of angst here, I want to say something. Crying or not crying has no indication whatsoever of truth, honesty, guilt, innocence, lying. Everybody reacts to every situation differently. I've seen cases where you were not crying, so therefore this must not have affected you or must not have done. But then if the same person cries, then someone's going to say, "Oh, you're just crying because you got caught, or you're just crying because you feel guilty." Crying and not crying has nothing to do with guilt or innocence. The problem I have with this stuff right here is that she's trying to cry. She's trying to cry. And it's not happening. She has no tears. She doesn't have the involuntary chin quiver that you get when you're crying. She doesn't have tears, but she desperately wants them. So she does these things to try to squeeze a tear coming down her face, but it doesn't happen. And if you haven't seen this video where she's posing for the damn camera, go find it on YouTube. She's got a little handkerchief, she's wiping her eyes, and she wipes her nose, and she looks over and sees the cameraman getting ready to take a picture. She does this. Hold, the camera flash goes off, click, and then she posed for a goddamn picture of her pretending to cry. That is bullshit. That's nonsense. And these kind of things are why I can't believe her. How many incidents of DV has she described? And we're a little over a third of the way done with this video. She's trying desperately to cry for 2 days and not a single tear comes out of her face. If she would have kept a straight, cold face, you could say she's had enough, she's pissed off, she's a woman that's out on a mission to make sure this perpetrator goes down in flames, so therefore she's not in an emotional state, she's had time to process this. You could argue that. Or if she was a complete basket case and actually crying, you could allege that this is PTSD, she's got the trauma, she's still suffering from it. But where she changes emotions like this, and where she tries desperately to cry and can't squeeze out a tear, that is indicative of someone who's not being honest to me. Now back to this horrific testimony and see what she goes on from here.
I couldn't breathe. Please.
Try to squeeze those tears out, Amber.
I don't. Please, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
She's sobbing and crying, making facial expressions of crying. And wiping nothing.
I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get through to him. I couldn't get up. I couldn't get up. And I don't know how that ended. I don't know how. I don't know what happened next. I don't understand.
I don't know what happened. It's just like crying here, but there's no tears. That doesn't make any sense. Cry or don't cry. Shoot or get off the
I remember I was bent over backwards on the bar, meaning my chest was up. I was staring at the blue lights and my chest.
Again, this weird detail. She's having the shit knocked out of her. She's splayed back naked on a countertop. And what she is going to describe happens to her. And she notices, oh, there's a blue light. I'm just looking at the blue light. Odd. But I've got something to say about what she's about to testify to.
My back was on the countertops. And I thought he was punching me.
She thought he was punching her in the pubic area.
I'm sorry. I felt this pressure.
No tears.
On my pubic bone. He thought he was punching me.
She thought he was punching her in the area.
I just saw his arm. I could feel his arm moving. And
his arm doing this.
Like
She was being punching
me. But I could just feel this pressure.
Punching on her pubic bone.
It was like it kept hitting. It didn't feel pain. It was just a pressure on my pubic.
Okay, this is another thing she's done through this. I didn't clip these parts, but in a lot of these situations, these DV allegations, she said she didn't feel pain. He backhanded me. I didn't feel pain. He punched me in the face repeatedly. I didn't feel pain. I'm splayed out naked over a table and he's punching me in the area and I don't feel pain. She taught so many of these incidences of DV. She says she didn't feel pain. She felt embarrassment. That's weird. They're not impressed.
And I remember that just not wanting to move because I didn't know if it was broken. I didn't know if the bottle.
Okay, see, I cut a little bit out here. This is where, she was totally off the rails, in my opinion. That what she thought was him punching her in the vag, she later realized he was penetrating her with a whiskey bottle. And she was concerned that he had broken off this whiskey bottle inside of her. So she didn't want to move. Good God. This ain't the movies, baby, where they have the sugar breakaway bottles. In real life, if you whack someone over the head with this, it's not just going to shatter and they're going to go, ugh. You'll fucking kill them. You didn't break these off in nobody's vag. But anyway, we'll talk about the actual bottle in a minute. So now she's saying she realized that he was penetrating her with a bottle and she was afraid to move because she thought he may have broken the bottle inside of her.
That he had inside me was broken. I couldn't feel it. I didn't feel pain.
Again, didn't feel pain? You're being penetrated by a bottle?
Listen, I'll fucking kill you.
Did you bleed from the vagina as well?
I did.
And did you experience any pain later?
I wasn't thinking about that. I was heartbroken.
See, she said, I didn't feel any pain. Then she was asked, did you feel pain later? I wasn't thinking about that. I was heartbroken. If you're bleeding out of the vagina from someone who's repeatedly slamming you and penetrating you with a whiskey bottle, I'm going to speculate you're going to feel a little bit of pain. Way overly dramatic here.
Eventually, I realized that I could be hurt because I was bleeding.
Yeah, so you go to the doctor and get pictures taken. She didn't.
Forgive me for asking this, but I need to just make sure the record's clear. You were penetrated up the vagina into the pubic bone, is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Bleeding.
Sustained.
What, if any, penetration was there in your vagina? At the bottom.
I love this objection.
I'm so sorry.
Do this.
I am so sorry.
I don't want to do it. Don't. Get off the stand.
Johnny had the bottle inside of me. And was shoving it inside of me over and over again.
Didn't feel pain. Was bleeding. Didn't feel pain.
Did you
go to the hospital?
experience any cuts on other parts of your body?
My forearms,
Her forearms are cut. Where are the pictures?
my bottoms of my feet were sliced up pretty good.
The bottoms of her feet are sliced up pretty good. Where are the pictures? She's got a picture of the damn ping pong table being broken, but no pictures of her feet sliced to ribbons. No pictures of the cuts on her forearms.
Did you have any other bruising or swelling?
I had a bruise across my jaw. I
Where's the
think
picture?
from one of the many times he clocked me in the face
Clocked her in the
downstairs.
face, bruising, no pictures. Bullshit.
I think I just didn't make a record of anything else.
She made a picture of the broken table. There's a picture of the floor after it had been cleaned up. There's a picture of a table where Deb had a drug box. There's pictures of a table where he was standing when she came down in the morning. But there's no picture of the slashed forearms, the bleeding vag, the bottoms of her feet cut to ribbons. She didn't think to document that, but she thought to document the ping pong table. Bull.
We could look at 1816, please,
All right.
defendants.
This makes me mad.
Do you recognize this, what's depicted in this picture?
Okay. All right. Get ready here. What you're looking at there on the table, the red bottle up here, there we go, the red bottle over here is a bottle of Maker's Mark bourbon. Right now, she's being triggered because, as I think is in this next clip, she explains that she felt something rectangle, because the Maker's Mark bottle is very interestingly shaped. It's rectangle, it's not round. She was triggered by this picture because she didn't know what she was penetrated with, but she remembers like being slammed in the pubic bone by something with a square feel to it. So that's why she thought it was a fist. But she sees this picture of the Maker's Mark bottle and realizes and remembers and has the flashback to remembering that that's what she was penetrated with. That bottle. We'll address that in a second. She's being triggered right now.
Yes,
What is it?
it looks like the bottles that were by Johnny on the desk when I came down that last morning. It's hard. It took me a minute to respond because I had not remembered seeing the bottle that Johnny was using on me.
Repressed memories.
I didn't have a memory of seeing it. And this picture, I wasn't aware of until just the other day, yesterday, the day before. And I felt my stomach tighten up, like I was going to be sick when I saw it. Because even though I didn't remember seeing the bottle, what I had remembered is a pressure, like something square, which is why I thought he was punching me. I was feeling the square, something firm hitting me, like butting up against my pubic bone. Over and over again, I felt that pressure against my bone. It felt like a flat surface. But when I realized it was an object or bottle and not his fist, which is what I thought, because his arm, I could see his arm while he was holding me down, saying he was going to kill me, but I thought he was, his arm looked like he was punching me. And I hadn't seen this bottle. I didn't know. And then this came out in Ben's evidence because he didn't share it.
No, Amber. Let me tell you why this testimony is complete and utter bullshit. She was talking about being penetrated by a Maker's Mark bottle. Well, because I'm an alcoholic, as you can see over there, and that goes all the way to the floor, I happen to have actually had an empty bottle of Maker's Mark right here while I was watching this live the other day. Now, the thing about Maker's Mark, and I'm not going to nerd out on whiskey too much here, but the thing about Maker's Mark is they're one of the few that have this red wax cap. They have this wax cap. And this is not a soft wax. This is a hard wax. They dip every bottle in this. Now, the picture that they had the top removed. So if we take the top off that Maker's Mark bottle, you'll notice there is a huge ridge here. And this is a ridge of relatively sharp, relatively pokey, and very wide. We can get the pointer right at the camera. Very wide ring of hard, crusty wax. And it creates this ridge. And now, hell, what do I have around here? Okay, we use this can of tobacco. You can see if we put it here, that's how thick this wax is. So if you're thrusting with it, you're going to be ripping and tearing like nobody's business. I mean, that's it. I'm sorry to be so graphic. This is against the table. That ridge of hard wax is going to rip you apart. I'm calling, as an alcoholic, no, as a whiskey enthusiast, I guess is what we're calling ourselves these days, as a whiskey enthusiast who just happens to have the alleged weapon right here and who knows about these massive ridges of hard, crusty wax, this would shred her inside. Bullshit that happened. This thing would be coated with blood. Bullshit. I'm done with her testimony in the truth. That is absurd to me. Without pictures of the damage, without medical reports of what happened inside of her, I am calling bullshit.
Until this date.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. And so I recognize it.
She recognized that. Bull. Okay. All right. Stop. All right. I put this in just for shits and giggles. This is when they're taking their afternoon break. The jury is gone now, but the cameras are still rolling, and she's very cognizant of the cameras. If you watch this testimony, she's always looking at the cameras. There's several viral videos of her laughing and talking with her lawyer. And then she sees the camera. She's playing for the camera. And this is a classic example. Johnny Depp is here. Look where Johnny Depp is. Johnny Depp is over here on the right. She's up there on the top. Ugh. She's up there on the top. Between Johnny and her are two, not one, not two court bailiffs with mace, tasers, and firearms to separate them. This is the door he usually goes out during the breaks. If I recall correctly, she usually walks across the podium, but I can't remember what. But anyway, he's not paying attention. He walks up on her, and watch how she reacts when he gets close. She does this. Oh my Lord, I've got the vapors. She like recoils and panics like he's gonna eat her alive. She gets the vapors when there's these armed officers between her and him. She acts like she's scared, like, oh my God, this guy who DV'd me is gonna come and get me again. So stupid. If I was her and if this was all true, I would be using those two officers to be like, anyway, watch her reaction in the background as he gets near her. Oh my Lord, I got the vapors, hide in the closet. How is my, look, she looked over the corner. I think she looked up in the corner to see if the camera was there. But anyway, back to
that stage in our relationship, he would just throw me, shove me, hit me in the face. And it was just like, all I could do is just try to fight back or try to not get more hurt. And I don't know how he managed to get his hands in my hair so fast, but he had his hand on the back of my head, my hair, and kind of was yanking me down and hit me in the face with this cast he had.
Yeah, he has a cast on his face from her lobbing.
I just remember this.
Checking with a cast.
Brief struggle. I remember him getting on top of me at some point, toppling me. Mostly at that moment downstairs, he was hitting me in my face. Again, this is another example of when I wish so much I could tell you an exact sequence.
I wish you would have taken pictures.
Grabbed me by the back of my hair, my head, and slammed his hand on my head. And I went down on the stairs, and he overtook me. I remember him so well. I remember his boots and the sound they made. I remember him grabbing my hair, my head, and kind of dragging me up the stairs the rest of the way.
By her hair.
He dragged me into the room that those stairs open into. It's like a salon foyer area. And we had this argument that kind of, was a shoving match that I was losing. By the second or third shove, he sent me toppling over this chaise lounge, like a little low-lying sofa seat. And I hit my head on the brick wall. There was an exposed brick wall. And I just looked right at him, right at his face.
No pictures.
And he balled up his fist, leaned back, and headbutted me square in the nose.
The other broken nose. Broken nose number 2.
Right as I stood in front of him. I was a foot from him. Just slammed me right in the nose. Instantly, searing pain. He wrestles me, drags me up to the bed, throws me down onto the bed, and kind of wrestles me down onto the bed. And he kneels on my back with one leg. And I was trying to fight him off me because I was face down on the bed top. And he wrestled me down, kind of trying to hold me down with his knee on my back. And he's punching me with a closed fist, punching me repeatedly. And I don't remember even feeling the pain.
Again,
And then
I don't remember feeling the pain.
pounding the back of my head, pounding it. With
Rabbit punching her in the skull, and she
I
doesn't.
don't even remember feeling pain. I just.
My brother hit me in the back of the head when I was 6 years old, and I still remember that at 52.
Kind of say this in a pointed way at Jack, thanking him for offering. And I get up, go to the closet, take off the pants.
Now, this is another thing. There's only one person throughout her testimony that I recall her specifically saying witnessed some of these violences. That was Jack Jerry, I believe his name is. Anyway, Johnny Depp's bodyguard. She's the only one that he says was there for a number of these incidences. Well, how fucking convenient is it that he died in 2019? He can't come here and testify that what she says is true. So the only witness that she can mention by name is a dead guy that can't come and call her on her bullshit.
Pants that have just been ruined. And Johnny comes into the closet right after me and slams me up against the side of the closet. And I mean, just with clarity, while holding my neck, he said he'd fucking kill me if I ever spoke to him like that in front of his kids again. If I ever embarrass him, and he just shoved me in embarrassed. If I ever embarrass you, if you ever embarrass me again in front of my kids. But again, brings me up against the wall. But this time he just grabbed my vagina.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
with her swimsuit on.
I was wearing this peach, kind of like netted kind of style swimming suit underneath. That's what I had on from the waist down, and he just grabbed me. Best I can explain it with his shoved his fingers inside me, but through my bathing suit. He didn't like move my bathing suit out of the way, and just kind of held me there. Grabbed me by the hair, swung me around. I remember he hit my face at least once, but I'm not quite sure in what sequence.
Okay, and that was the last piece that I recorded. Well, hey, bring me back. There we go. All right. Let me put my other legal vice down here. Pipes and tobaccos. All right, we need to talk. The trial's on hiatus for the next few days. Resume next week. I mean, we just spent the last hour reviewing a 25-minute video, and that 25-minute video was 25 minutes nonstop of separate allegations of DV that she alleges Johnny Depp perpetrated against her. No witnesses are testifying to this. There better be something magical happen later on in this trial. But it's not happened yet, and I don't see anybody on the witness list that's going to corroborate any of this. No photographs. She's got a photograph of a little clump of hair on the floor, an old bruise, and a broken table, and Johnny Depp sleeping on an island. I would be fucking sleeping on an island too. Sleeping here, sitting on a chair. I mean, just no pictures of the sliced forearms. No pictures of the bottoms of the feet that have been cut to ribbons. No medical reports of bleeding vaginas that have been savaged by a Maker's Mark bottle. No pictures of the face we've heard about for the last hour that's been repeatedly punched and punched and punched and slapped and backhanded with rings, blood flying on the wall. None of this has been supported by any evidence. None of it. And curiously, people of the jury, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I would also like to point out to you that throughout this whole thing, there's never been one person. And we look at Kevin Spacey, we look at Weinstein, we look at all these other animals and filthy pigs that have actually done this shit. People line up for blocks to get their testimony in, to get their statements in. That's the essence of hashtag Me Too. It happened to me too. In all of this testimony, since this was alleged years ago by Amber Heard, not one person from Johnny Depp's background, not one girl he's dated, not his ex-wife, none of it, not one employee, not one associate has come forward and said, Johnny Depp hit me. I've seen Johnny Depp hit other people. I've seen Johnny Depp do the Johnny Depp's a piece of shit. Everybody that's been in his history that's talked about this case has said that can't possibly be him. He's the nicest person. And of course, they say that about serial killers too. All the neighbors, we never saw this coming. We had no idea. Yeah, he's not a private serial killer type. He's a guy in Hollywood. He's a star. He's in the public eye. Not one person he's worked with. Not one person from his past. Not one woman has come forward and said, he hit me too. He SA'd me. He DV'd me. Not one person. To the contrary, he has witnesses lined up saying it was her. It was all her. They never saw him do anything. She's got nothing. Nothing but her own testimony. This woman who records conversations, records videos, takes pictures of everything, doesn't take a single picture of her violence other than a clump of hair and a cut on her, some redness on her lip that could have been a damn cold sore for all we know, and an old bruise. That to me says her entire testimony lacks any credibility whatsoever. Where's the witnesses? Where's the photographs? Where are these people that alleged this? Because of this, I think she is telling 100% fantasy, insanely incredible testimony. So I went from thinking that Johnny Depp probably did this at the initial stage to now saying, not a chance. Not a chance in my mind. The only problem is, as I understand it, I'm not a Virginia lawyer. I'm licensed in Utah, but I've lived in Korea for 34 years. I'm not a Virginia lawyer, but where this case is taking place, but I understand Virginia. Okay. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, I understand that the verdict has to be unanimous. So Johnny Depp is suing her for these statements. She wanted to be the face of DV because she had survived the SV and DV. These statements that she'd made in the article in question here. 7 jurors, unanimous jurors, or 7 jurors on the panel. All 7 of them have to agree that Johnny Depp did not commit a single act of DV against her. And the law is abstract and unclear as to whether verbal comments constitute DV. I believe he's probably said some really shitty things to her. I've said some really shitty things to people when I'm, my significant others, when I'm in arguments with them. But it's up to the jury to decide whether there's any truth to what she said in this article, whether there's any truth that he committed DV against her. All 7 of them have to agree. If they all agree, if even one person says, yeah, he did it, he loses the case. But if all 7 agree that she's batshit crazy, nice little Fear and Loathing Las Vegas reference there. All 7 agree she's batshit crazy and that this never happened and she made it all up. Then we can find that Johnny Depp wins. It's the court of public opinion, hands down. I think he's won. He's going to get back to making movies again. I have no doubt about that. Legal court, the jury depends on the jury instructions and how they want to interpret DV. If all 7 agree that he did not commit DV and that she was wrong in this article, he could get $50 million out of this. So please, I know there's probably 0 people that have listened all this way, but don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm just starting out on this, and we're going to take this journey together. Take care. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think, and let's move on. Thank you very much. Goodbye from Legal Vices.